corporate as well as agency, and I've been in a lot of different companies. So I hope to kind of figure out a way to package all of that information in a way that can help the girls in the middle of career changes, the girls in the middle of difficult work environments, things like that. So this is episode 1. Let's get started. So today I want to talk to you guys about being a graduate or an intern. It's really a very important time of your life because you are either going into some kind of scholarship program, internship, things like that. You're fresh out of varsity, college, finishing whatever course you were doing, and now it's really time to get into the workforce. There's a lot of things that people don't share that are around the workforce. Yes, you know, you've got to be professional, but what does professional really even mean? Professional the way you speak, send emails, like those things aren't fundamentally taught. So I'm hoping over the weeks to find a way to break down as much as I can in terms of what I've learned as a graduate and an intern, and what I want to impart to you in terms of being the best that you can be in whichever environment you end up finding yourself in. Some people will be in agency doing internships, etc. Some people will be in corporate. If you do want me to specifically separate the advice for those two, let me know. And I'm happy to do like a part 2 or something. But today we're going to just kind of synthesize my thoughts around the things that I think are really important to highlight about how to get started in a positive way that will help you get promoted or get a permanent position, etc. But also help you to learn what actually the word professionalism means. Like when people are saying be professional in an environment, coming from varsity, you're not really given the chance to be in a boardroom and have to have difficult conversations, manage crisis management and what the appropriate conversations are to have with whoever. So I hope that in some kind of way with this series, I'm able to break that stuff down. If I haven't done so, you'll have the opportunity to tell me I haven't done so, and I'll go back and give you more information. But let's start today with graduates and interns. Just an overview of what I think that you guys should do to get started. You know, when you think about graduate programs and internships, you really want an environment, not only one that you'll work for, but one that will fundamentally work for you, one that you'll be able to see exactly where you fit into. And that's very hard to do when you're coming in just, you know, with fresh eyes, not really aware of where do I even start with this conversation. Okay, I'm aware that I've got the 6-month contract to do this and that. I'm aware that that's the lead person who I'm going to speak to, but like, how do I jump off from here? Like, what is it that I do? You know, what I've observed in terms of the difference between agency and corporate is that with agency, there's a lot of times you're not going to get a brief with your internship. You'll get an overview of maybe the department that you're going to help, the lead that is going to be the person to support you, and where they see the gaps in terms of you filling them in. Because fundamentally what I've learned is that people kind of say, what are the annoying things that we don't like doing? And then they kind of bundle all that stuff up and give it to the intern. Whereas what I understand internship should be is, sure, a bit of that, but a mix of that and things that are going to catapult your next steps and make it clear whether what you studied is the thing that you should have studied or whatever. But internships have to enlighten you in some way, and you can't just leave being the person who knows how to use a fax machine. So I think what's really important to do in those instances is agency instances is to walk in knowing that you might not get a brief and things like that, but I will talk through how you create your own brief essentially in that in those type of environments. And then when it comes to corporate, a lot of the time, because things are easily formalized, there's a formal HR department, you are able to go in and know that someone is going to sit you down and say, this is the brief of what we see you doing in this department, these will be your main goals, and that will most likely be set out for you by the person who will act as your lead. So those are the two discrepancies or differences that I would say when you're walking into graduation programs and internships and agency and corporate. The advice that I would give for you when you're going into agency and there is no brief, if there is no brief, create it. Latch on to the person you've been told is your lead and go to that person with your issues, go to that person with your concerns. So if they sit you down and say, these are the things that we think we want you to do, write those things down. And then underneath each point, say for instance, they say you need to do the weekly project plan. You don't know what that is yet, right? So you need to write down, what is it? Where is the template? Who did it before me, so I can speak to that person and find out how to fill it in. Am I doing the right thing? What time is the meeting where this thing will be projected, so that I'm able to know that I need to be there 15 minutes before? Who can help me with the projector? Do you see? It's actually quite a lot of admin questions that follow being given a task, especially when you're new. When you get a task and someone says, can you check with so-and-so about this? It becomes clear to you if you've been at the job for a long time. However, if you are brand new in a system, there are going to be a lot of follow-up questions after very simple things to do. If someone says, please go get that document from so-and-so and then scan it to so-and-so, you now need to know who the so-and-sos are, where the scanning machine is. Do I need a code for the scanning machine? Or can I just use, can I just go ahead and direct it to the scanning machine and use it? There's a lot of questions that that build up to you eventually finishing the task. So head on, instead of having to go back to your lead and saying, who's this again? What's this again? Say to your lead, thank you so much for giving me my brief overview in terms of what you want from me in the next 6 months. What I'm going to do is take this week to try fill in the blanks, introduce myself to people within the space, and then on Friday, let's do a status 2 or a phase 2 of this conversation where we talk through based on what you've said that I need to do. Let's talk through my questions about what I need to do so that I can walk in and start to be as proactive or as independent as I possibly can be from the jump. So I think that's what you should do when you're in an agency position. If you've got an agency that gives you a brief, you might very well find that within that you still have questions. Then I would still suggest that you would have a phase 2 of the conversation where you go back to the same person and say, this is what I understand about this. This is where I need clarity. Who's this? Who's that? But that fundamentally is not a thing where it shows that it doesn't, asking questions is a good idea. So you asking is showing that you are proactive and that you want to get things done within the deadline because you are concerned about understanding it in order for you to execute. And then, as I mentioned briefly, the corporate side usually will come with a brief or some kind of overview. Internally, there are HR departments that are vigorous, that are also very focused on having the right documentation for every phase of, roles and responsibilities within the system. So you're very likely to at least get an overview of expectation when you're in a corporate environment. If you do, whether you do get it, whether you don't get it, I will always suggest a phase 2. So I'm suggesting it again for the corporate environment. Go to the phase 2. Phase 2 corporate environment is even better because people want to see who is keen on staying after the graduation program, who is showing the proactivity of a possible assistant manager, coordinator, who is showing that vigor. It's almost like the Hunger Games. So you really got to show who you are in a work environment now. And I think that's what kind of contributes to professionalism. So going back to that word, what is professionalism? Professionalism is knowing that it is the onus is on you to get up from that desk and know people, to ask questions, to say, hey, can we speak on Friday about this very list? I just want to get my head around it and then come back to you so that I can start off strong. Those are elements of professionalism that show that you are aware that whether you're an intern or whether you are a lead director of whatever, the things on your list are your responsibility. And so you have to use whatever is in with your capacity, whatever is shown to you as a resource in order to make those things happen. So that would be the first phase of what I would suggest in terms of approaching your agency internships and graduation programs versus corporate graduation and internships. Now let's get into the body. Let's get into some tips on what exactly you can do in either of those environments. My first suggestion is that you must lobby, prove yourself, walk through the corridors and make sure the people that you are going to be working with or that affect any part of your actions know you, know what your role is, know exactly how much you know and where you might need them to fill in the blanks. What I love about, internships is that usually the first week or so is a little, in and out, you're in a lot of meetings, you're just kind of being dragged back and forth. That is the time for you to go downstairs, introduce yourself to reception firstly and say, is there an organogram that you can give me so I can understand who fits in where? And I'm here for 6 months. Is it okay if I come to you just if I forget like who does what, where I can find them, just so that I am able to work as fast as possible and get to know everyone as quickly as possible. I think it's very important for you to be the person that proactively does that. Another great place to go is to go to the assistants and the coordinators. The people that manage the admin are the people that usually know what's happening from the bottom right to the top. Those are your friends. Those are the people that will be able to say, that person likes the information in this way. Those people that will say to you, don't call her, send her an email. She's better on that type of thing. So you really want those people who are going to be able to give you the edge about the fact that I might not know the job or anything fully, but within my internship and within the actions of my next 6 months, I'm going to kill these things fully. So that's where I would say you should start. Now, the first month of your internship is a very good time to build rapport with the value chain, as it were. So you need to be the type of person who is checking in with people, making sure that they know that you're in the system. The one thing that I would suggest is always make sure that the first thing you get is a notebook. If you don't like a notebook, open notes in your laptop and make sure you write notes. I had 2 lists every time. The one list was an admin list, and the other list was a list I was going back to talk about with the lead or whoever's been allocated to make sure that you push and are successful for the next 6 months. The admin list is the list where it's general inquiries, knowledge about the space, knowledge about what's appropriate and what's not, knowledge about how to book the boardroom, things like that. That list, I don't think you need to go in with that list to your lead, because your lead needs to understand that you're coming in not to tail that person. You're coming in to say, I studied this thing, I'm good at it, but what I want to now be good at is being in a professional environment. And you want to separate the conversations, because you don't have to always ask your lead, how do I book the boardroom? You can go to reception and ask. You can go to a personal assistant and say, please help me, how do I book the boardroom? How do I do the admin stuff? How do I make sure that the screen will have this on by the time that the meeting starts at 9? Those are things that you can proactively do so that your general manager or your lead looks from a distance and says, oh, I just got to the meeting and it was done. I didn't have to think about it. Those are the things that set you up for, I feel, a promotion, an extension, for people's eyes to be on you. I also separate it because it's very important to have a relationship with the admin people. They know everything. And it's also very important to have a professional and clear journeyed relationship with the lead, because that's a person who you can sit down with in 6 months' time and say, you've seen what I've done, boom, 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 boom. Where do I stand? So separate those lists, take care of them. I think for that first month, like I said, those relationships you want to carve, but try for the first week or 2 to get in those conversations. Once you've gotten, your questions, they'll come up randomly. Questions that you have will come up in a meeting. Questions that you have when you're walking through the boardroom, you don't know how to switch something on, it'll come up then. Give yourself a week or 2 to draft and finish all the questions that you have, and then sit with those separate people and go through them so that you can feel like in the first month, at least I know the basics of what is going to help me survive here. Let's move on to the next thing that I think is very important. Writing emails and comms for the first time. So let's start. The basic structure of a great email. Emails are that thing where people are like, I've been writing texts and things like that. Surely I can write an email. There's an email that you can write that's fine, and then there's appropriate emails that really read clearly and that help you get the actions out of the next people. When you are a graduate and an intern, you're most likely to be dragging information out of people on behalf of your manager, this and that. So make sure that you always highlight the information that you need. Another thing, just in passing, that I would suggest when writing the emails is that once you've spoken to someone about, hey, please give me this, this, and this by Thursday because my boss is going to need it to ABC, make sure that you go on email and reiterate that and say, hi, so-and-so, thank you so much for our conversation and for explaining the how this works. Now that I'm aware of the process, I'll make sure to follow it in future. As discussed, thank you so much also for agreeing that on Thursday you'll be furnishing me with A, B, and C. So for me, a general overview of how to write a great email. Your first paragraph, short and sweet, needs to explain what you're actually here to say. And then the second part needs to give maybe a little bit more information or spread out to give the clarity about who needs to be involved in the conversation. And then the last part must always be some kind of overview or actions list or to-do or notes that says, S, to help me with this. Andrew, to do this and this. Margaret, to help me with that. So-and-so, to send me this. Thank you all. Please note where your deadlines lie. I'll be catching up with you later in the week. So it's very important. I know that also another thing is what we assume as graduates and interns is that obviously everyone is there, they know their jobs, etc., etc. But people are busy. There's other circumstances that might stop people from being able to follow through or remember that you even had a conversation at their desk. So always rely on emails to just reiterate those things. Also, and I don't want to preempt any negative situations, but emails do help to be able to prove and say, I did send you this a few times and I asked if you could help me with this, and this. We did agree on the deadline. So get used to making emails your friends. In instances that you do not know something, I think I spoke about this briefly earlier, walk up to the person and ask. Go to people, introduce yourself, and introduce that you're an intern, that you don't know a lot, but you want to follow the process of the business. So if they can tell you that you shouldn't be here, you should go there and then come here, say, I'm an intern, I'd love for you to let me know if I'm following the right process, but I need this and this from the digital department. Is this the right process? Is there a turnaround time? How can I get this as fast as possible in order to make the meeting? That kind of communication, be open and forthright about what it is you are needing, how much information you have about the thing you've been asked to need or request, and then follow through with getting an answer. I think that again, the more people who know you're in the system, the more people know that you are needing context around certain things. That is the fastest way to get to know a company. Use emails to stay in touch with your lead. It's a very important thing to keep connecting with your lead. You'll find that they're in their own meetings, and once you kind of on your own feet, they'll let you kind of push forward with whatever you're doing. It's important to proactively decide to update them. So maybe on a Monday, you can habitually start something on a Monday and a Friday, where on a Monday you set out and say, hi, after our meeting, this is what I understand I need to do. These are the things that I'm going to focus on this week. And then on Friday, send another email before the end of the day and say, these are the things that I think I've been able to do. Here are some bottlenecks that I'm hoping to discuss with you on Monday. And here are some things that I'm going to carry into next week because of ABCD. And I think that again shows some proactivity. And going back to the word professionalism, it is so professional for you to be sitting as someone who is a lead and thinking, I wonder how my intern is doing, and then get an email every week that lets you know, this is where I am, this is where I'm not, so that they also can subconsciously keep it in their minds that I need to touch base with her about this. I need to help her with this thing because she said it was confusing and it's carried over for 2 weeks now. But just creating an environment that you feel like you own is a very important thing. And it's small things like being able to just say, Monday and Friday, whether she speaks to me about anything else, I am sending these emails, so she's well aware that I am pushing the work that I'm here to do. Another very important thing, the assumption is always that people know how to write automatically, that people can just do this stuff. There's so many templates on Google that can help you. There are templates that can help you if you're asking for a raise. There are templates that can help you if you're asking what's going to happen after your graduation. There are templates that can help you with anything, that can help you draft the appropriate messaging for the people that you want to speak to. So use those templates, make them your own. Don't just copy and paste, but use them to drive how to carve the first paragraph, what the second paragraph needs to encompass, and how to end off in an open-ended manner. Okay, let's talk about how to say no politely or how to manage a lot of requests at the same time. Now, because you are the intern / graduate, people are going to really kind of anticipate dumping things on you, things that have got nothing to do with you. Oh, can you quickly do this? When you have time on Friday, do you mind printing all these out for 100 people? All of that stuff. A lot of it is useful to you because again, relationship building, etc. Some of the stuff might be inundating, especially when you've got your own things that you need to do weekly for your lead. So when managing that, I would always suggest that you take it step by step or take it task for task. So for instance, you're doing your own work and then someone sends an email and says, can you help me on Friday? I need to print these things out for 100 people at 1 by 1 o'clock. Please, can you do it? Thanks so much. And then you realize, actually, I don't think I can do it. The best thing for me, the first thing is obviously you need to trust in the fact that because you are in this position, you're learning to be a professional, your intuition will tell you what you absolutely need to do and what can wait. So there'll be instances where you look at something and say, I won't be able to make this at 1. And it's good to communicate that immediately and say, I think I might have a commitment at 1, but what I want to do is just quickly check, and then I'll come back to you by the end of the day and let you know if I can do that. That then buys you the full day to figure out how you're going to say no, but it's really important to, just keep it open-ended until you know for sure that you can or cannot do the task. That is either if you're checking your own diary, or if you're going to check with your lead that will tell you, okay, we can definitely do this thing, or it's not important for you. But always open yourself up to the idea that there will be times, yes, you'll say yes a lot of the times, but it's not going to be a yes all the time. And some people are going to send you things that really have nothing to do with you. And in those instances, you need to take that information, where it's confusing to you, take it to your lead and say, should I be doing this? Or so-and-so's asked me to help them with this and this. I'm doing this for you, but the deadline is kind of close. Should I be doing this? How do I manage this? Because I don't want to disappoint them. And even in that conversation, you can get information about how to handle that better for yourself in future, how to communicate to certain people. That's the moment where your lead might say, oh, Jess doesn't care for this or that, so maybe just let her know and she'll be fine with it. Or so-and-so is a little bit sensitive, they're used to having an intern annually to help them. Maybe we just need to let her know that this year we have a clear brief on what we want our intern to do, so it's not the same as last year. But always put yourself in a position where you're not sitting with information by yourself trying to figure it out. Go to your lead and say, these are the list of things that I've been asked for this week, happy to do them, but there's this, and this. So do you find it appropriate that I might need to decline this? And which of these elements would you want me to do based on what our department needs, or based on the relationship building that you think is good for me to be doing? And then the last thing I would suggest is that you create sessions and meetings around your well-being, around your process or progress. Like I said, in a lot of corporate environments, that is already kind of a given. At the beginning, they might send you a flood of calendar invites where they say in 3 weeks' time or in 4 weeks' time, we'll talk about this. In 3 months' time, we'll talk about this. In 6 months' time, we'll talk about that. If that does not exist, create it for yourself. If you're an agency, create it for yourself. Have a conversation that's going to be about you in a month's time. Have a conversation that's going to be about you in 3 months, 6 months' time. And different things, right? By 6 months, there's going to be a lot more to talk about, and you're going to want to know what the next step for you might be. In 3 months' time, it's like a probational conversation. And then within a month's time, it's a conversation where you have moved from knowing nothing to knowing a lot more and wanting to really move into the next 5 months strong. So either way, you need to put those conversations into the diaries. Whichever environment you're in, you need to ask that those conversations happen. Hold HR and lead to the updates. Speak to HR. For me, I would have and the thing is, it depends on the environment. Sometimes HR is very, very forthright about the fact that this is how you can get promoted. This is how you stay in the company. If you have that kind of vigorous department, then meet with them too. Maybe not as much, but meet with them maybe once a month and say, hey, as the intern, I thought I'd give you some updates on how we're working, what we find is really easy and helpful, and what we find we're having difficulties with. Just that with HR will give people within the hiring process a sense of who you are outside of the work that you're doing. The other thing that I would suggest is that you send internal updates and feedback emails to the teams that you work with, the people that you work with. This is internal updates is hey guys, it's been a month since I've been here. I know I've been doing the financial process with you guys for this department. Let me know if you think that we should change something, if there's something that we're not vigorous, or whether you're happy with the way that we've been managing things. But I think you must open it up and allow people to assess you, even if it is once a month. It doesn't have to be 9 people every month. It could be the key people every month, and then after the 6 months, you can go to the rapport that you've built outside of your department, speak to the admin person, speak to the people you interacted downstairs, and find out from them. After 6 months that I've been here, what is your feedback? What would you suggest? What do you see that I could do very well based on what I've executed for you on your behalf, etc.? But always take your feedback in your hands. Feedback puts you in a position where you're showing people, I'm really not afraid to hear what I've done wrong or what I need to improve on. I want to be here and I want to improve, and feedback monthly for me is important so that the next month is better than the month before. When you have that last conversation, whether it's after 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, you really need to come in with your own assessments. They'll have a list of things where they say, did you just do this well? They might even have a scoring process where people have scored you ahead of time so that you know where you kind of fit within the balance. Bring your own assessments in. Bring the assessments from other people and say, this is what this department felt about me working on the ground. This is what this department felt. So-and-so called this out. I worked on it, and 2 months later, this was the update on how she felt I was dealing with it. These are the things that I've been able to do. These are the things 6 months later that I still find difficult. But just the proactivity shows them that if we put this person in the system, this is the person who will proactively improve themselves and also speak up when they are not able to understand something. So always think about those things when you are in a position where you are trying to carve new relationships. These are the years to be really extra, to be your personality mixed with who you hope to be at work. Take the next steps and make sure people know you. Walk the corridors, be available, but also have boundaries. Use that environment to carve who you want to be, or to figure out if you even want to still be that person. But don't think that you're walking into an intern to just kind of be carved by someone else. There are things that you can walk in with that will allow you to carve your own experience. So I hope that there's some takeouts that you guys can share with people who are a little younger, who are going through this. I can't wait to share my next video, which is going to be around people who are starting as assistants or coordinators. But for now, it's me, the girl in the middle. All my love to you.